Happy Tuesday. Happy So What Day. Thank you for joining me today here on the Sulky Facebook page and the Sulky YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a great start to your day. I woke up and it was 58 degrees. So, I guess fall actually might happen here in Colorado. And that's exciting because today we're going to be talking about t-shirts, tips for sewing t-shirt fabrics, t-shirt patterns, and t-shirt embroidery. If you have ever made a t-shirt quilt or want to make a t-shirt quilt, I will also be giving lots of tips that you can apply to that type of project. So kind of everything t-shirt. If you have questions about working with t-shirt fabrics, patterns, that type of thing, please be sure to put them into the comments here, either in the live chat on YouTube or the comment section on Facebook, and I will address those. So the reason I am talking about all things t-shirt today is because today is our t-shirt webinar with the folks at So English Fabrics, the Sulky Perfect Tee. Now, this webcast will be happening at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So in just a couple of hours, we will hop on over to the Sulky education site, which is sewingonline.sulky.com. And So English will be joining us to teach us all about this pattern that they created specifically for Sulky, the Sulky Perfect Tee. So I wanted to go over this pattern with you a little bit because the webinar today is really going to give you all of those construction tips and tips for working with this pattern specifically. So on today's live, I'm going to go over a little bit more generic sewing and embroidery techniques for t-shirts of all kinds, ready-made or if you're starting from a pattern. But I also want to go over a little bit about working with digital patterns. So the pattern for today, here is the pattern cover. There are lots of different t-shirt styles you can choose from, all in the same pattern. I have someone coming in. Nadine says she has had issues with the pattern. So first of all, I highly recommend you join us at 2 p.m. for the webcast, because if you ordered this pattern and you've already been working with it or have questions about it, there is no better time than to hop on our webcast at 2 p.m. so that you can talk to the pattern designer herself. Ask your questions, get them answered so that you can have success with the pattern. I am wearing my version of the Sulky Perfect Tee right now. You could see I chose the scoop neck and the 3/4 sleeve, and then I did the sort of curved hem option. There's also a straight hem option. There's also a tie hem option that you could see in that image there in the center. And then you can do short sleeves, long sleeves. You can do V-neck, scoop neck, or crew neck. So this pattern is going to get a lot of use. You could choose from lots of different knit fabrics. You can go with a double knit if you want something that's a little heavier weight for the upcoming winter months. You can go even lighter weight with like a tissue weight knit. So tons of options. Now, we do have a kit that we have compiled with So English for the webcast today. In the kit, you get a 2-yard cut of the most fantastic feeling fabric. I am wearing it right now. Like I said, it is breathable, but it has great coverage. It has great stretch. It is like those $50, $60 t-shirts that you'll find in, subscription boxes and at the fancier sort of department stores. Very high quality. It doesn't pill. It's just so nice. I love it so much. So you will get a 2-yard cut. 2 yards will make up to a size 4X. So if you are 5X to 10X, you're going to need a little bit more fabric, okay? So if you fall into that size range, and I have the size chart here, if you fall into anything above that 4X, you can contact us if you still want to grab the kit and we'll work with you, or you can definitely just grab your own fabric to create your t-shirt. Also with the kit, along with your fabric, you will be getting your construction thread, your needles, your embroidery materials, including stabilizers, threads for embroidery. Now, you also want to choose hand embroidery or machine embroidery for your t-shirt. I did the machine embroidery on my pocket. Lots of options here. I will go back to this image so you could see the hand embroidery. So that's hand embroidery, and then this is the machine. They look very, very similar. The handwork is done with a heavier weight cotton thread, our 12 weight cotton petites, and you will use sulky stick and stitch to transfer that embroidery onto your pocket fabric. For the machine embroidery, we will be using soft and sheer extra for the machine embroidery, and then both versions will also get Tender Touch stabilizer. Tender Touch is a really lightweight, silky feeling stabilizer that goes on after your embroidery is complete. It kind of seals up those stitches on the wrong side and also stabilizes that part of your garment over time. So multiple washings and wearings, your embroidery will not distort or pull out or anything like that. So these kits have everything you need to create your perfect t-shirt. And back to the fabrics here. Now, I couldn't decide. So I have, the navy, which I'm wearing now, and then I also have this white version. I did get a couple of questions from people asking, how see-through is the white? It is, I just don't really know how to describe it other than saying that it's not see-through at all. You're not going to see your bra through the shirt, unless you're wearing a really dark bra with your white shirt. But it's just a luxurious knit. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So if you're looking for that perfect white t-shirt to pair with your jeans, to take you from fall into winter, wear it all year round, go for the white. If you, want something darker for fall, go for the navy. Either way, the embroidery is going to match either color. It's going to coordinate. And what we've done is we created a brand new embroidery design collection. It's called the ModGeo Collection because it kind of has these modern geometric motifs to it. And you can see that it's available in 2 colorways. So in your kit, you will get 3 colors for colorway number 1 and 3 colors for colorway number 2. And they're kind of neutral, yet a little pop of color. And like I said, either one of these colorways will go with the white or the navy. So it's really up to you which colors you want to use for your design. If you are doing the handwork version, it's the same design collection, just made into a hand embroidery pattern so that you can print it out directly onto your stick and stitch stabilizer, place it onto your fabric, and sew through all layers, then wash away your stabilizer completely when your embroidery is done. So it's an awesome, awesome transfer method, but also stabilizes your fabric while you're working. So we will go over that at length at 2 p.m. today, and you can, get lots of hand embroidery resources. So if you want to do the machine embroidery version and then come back and do this handwork version on a different project or another t-shirt, you have those options. Also, we are unveiling this new thread palette. So these are the 6 threads you will get inside of your kit if you choose the machine embroidery kit. If you choose hand embroidery, you'll get the same colors, just in the cotton petites. So this is our poly Deco thread, which is great for construction as well as machine embroidery. This thread assortment, if you buy it on its own, comes with those 3 embroidery designs in the 2 colorways. So this is going to be my giveaway today here on our So What episode. So everyone who is commenting, liking, sharing out the post today, you are eligible to receive today's gift. So I will pick a winner in about 24 hours and you will win the new ModGeo thread assortment. All right, so a lot of things I'm going to talk about today are also already on sale. Whenever we do a webcast, we have the greatest sales you're going to find at sulky.com. We really, really want to sort of reward you for spending your afternoon with us and choosing us to get your sewing, quilting, and embroidery education from. So we have great, great sales going on already up until midnight tonight, and that includes the cost of the kit. I have a lot of people asking about... Oh, and Sulky has commented that the embroidery collection is free with sign up. That's not exactly true. So the collection is not the freebie. When you sign up for the webcast, you will get this triangle design for free. You will get it for machine embroidery as well as hand embroidery, so you can try your hand at this collection. If you like those other designs, which are the arrow design and then the circle gets the square, that's the one that's in the center there, that is part of the collection. So the collection isn't the freebie, it's this, this great triangle design that we're featuring today. Just wanted to clear that up really quick. All right, lots of people excited about the t-shirt. And yes, the colors are, you know, it's kind of that like retro modern, is that even a thing, retro modern? You know, it's got the mustard and the teal and kind of the orange mapley. I really like the neutral aspect of it, but then adding in a little pop of color for just a little something extra. Okay. And Dawn asks, can you buy the embroidery collection separate from the kit? Yes, you can. You can get either the hand embroidery collection or the machine embroidery collection all on its own if you just are interested in the designs. What is the content of the fabric? So it is a micro viscose cotton. They call it MVC fabric. Glenda says, is the pattern in the kit? Yes, it is. If you get the kit, you will automatically get the digital pattern to create the top and the ModGeo embroidery collection. So if you get the handwork kit, you will get the handwork collection. If you get the machine embroidery kit, you will get the machine embroidery collection. So lots of stuff included in that great $49.99 price. Not to mention, you know, the 2 yards of this fabric. So great, so great. Okay, I think I got caught up on the questions. I will keep at it, so keep putting them in the chat here. Birdie says, I want to order the kit, but will be gone for a week. So that's the great thing about our webcasts. You don't have to attend live in order to get all of that great information. We record every single one of them, and after the live event ends, we upload that recording to our event page, and you can watch it at any time. You can come back and watch it again and see if you missed anything. If you order a kit today and watch the webcast and your kit arrives in 5 days or so, you can go back, refer to that free webcast recording, fast forward, rewind, pause, all of that good stuff. So you don't necessarily need to even attend live today. You will still get the free design. You will still get all of that great information from So English. And you can still get the kit and take advantage of all of the great sales that we have today. Sharon says, does the kit contain a tissue pattern? So this is a great segue into what I wanted to first talk about today, which is working with digital patterns. The kit does not come with a paper pattern. The kit comes with a digital PDF file. So it is a printed home digital pattern. And I happen to love printed home patterns because, well, of a few different reasons. Now, I have my pattern that I cut out here. Here's my front piece. It's all taped together. And yes, when you're working with a digital pattern, you have to print out multiple pieces of paper. When you get the perfect tee pattern, you really, really need to read the instructions of the pattern before you even print the pages of your physical pattern pieces, because those first informational pages tell you about sizing, tell you about how to tape your pieces together. They also tell you how to sort the layers so you don't have to print every single size line and get confused when you're cutting it out. They also tell you what pages you need to print. So like I mentioned with this pattern, there are a few different versions you can create of this top. That tie front pattern piece is a completely different pattern piece than the straight front. It has a piece that comes down like this that you will use to tie together along the front. So you'll actually see, if you print out all 63 pages, you will have 2 front versions, 2 back versions, your sleeve with versions, and then your neck bands, okay? So if you're only interested in making the tie version, you only need those pages. You don't need all 63. So for example, since I did the non-tie or straight, or I think it's called plain front version of the tee, I printed out about 22 pages. Now I will say, I printed out all sizes because I was testing it out and I wanted to see, how it all looked once I had it all taped together. So I did not remove the layers. You could see I have multiple size lines on my pattern piece, but there are instructions in your instructional PDF that tell you how to remove those other size lines, how to tape it together so that it is exactly how you need it. And then you also need to pay attention to, within your plain or tie front version, are you going to do the V-neck, scoop neck, or crew neck? Those are different cutting lines. Are you going to do the straight front or the curved hem? Those are different cutting lines. So if you did like me and did not sort your layers, so you're seeing multiple size ranges, which sometimes when we are doing our measurements, we are, let's say, a size large up top, then we go down to a size medium, and then let's say we go to an extra large down below, especially if we're making that curved hem and it's a little bit longer and it's going over our hips. We could be within 3 different sizes. Now, a lot of knit patterns will just tell you to cut the largest size. But if you leave all of those size ranges that you need, let's say you need a 10, an 8, and a 12, you can go between sizes and slightly curve in to your lower size and then curve out along your hips. Now, that might require a few different measurements just so that you're sure you get within those size lines. However, if you're a little bit in or a little bit beyond, this is very forgiving. It's a t-shirt after all, and you can see it's got like a loose fit to it. So if you go a little outside that line, honestly, it's just going to give you more room to groove. Now, unless you're looking for a super tight t-shirt, then you would want to probably size down a size. All right, so that's a lot of information about fit and whatnot. And like I said, you know, this is a very easy pattern. Once you get over the hump of taping your pieces together, cutting it out, you will have your front piece, your back piece, your sleeve piece. This is the 3/4, it's a little bit longer, and your neckband piece. Now, So English has put notches. What I really love are the sleeve notches. If you have ever made a shirt before and you didn't transfer these notches or give yourself a little notch on your fabric at these notches, sometimes you can sew your sleeve, basically your left sleeve to the right side of your garment and your right sleeve to the left side of the garment. Well, this one has this nifty little notch right here. If you don't match that notch up correctly into your arm's eye seam, then you're sewing the sleeve on backwards, basically. So I found that super helpful, just having that little notch there. But I digress. Again, we will be learning so much more about putting this t-shirt together at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so be sure to register. I don't want to give away everything, but here are, oops, excuse me, I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, here are the basic, options you can choose from to mix and match and create your own t-shirt. All right, and this is a great tip from Joni. You can carefully fold the cut lines so you can keep all the sizes. That's great. So another thing about working with digital patterns that I really love. Now, if you're used to working with tissue patterns for garments or anything really, you know how easily that tissue can tear. Especially if you use pattern weights that have the little teeth on them, or if you pin through the tissue when you are cutting out your pattern pieces, it just does not have the greatest longevity. Then when you are done working with that tissue pattern, you've got to figure out how to fold that up again, how to store it, label it, all of these things. It's never going to fit back into that pattern envelope. Am I right? What I really love about digital patterns is you're printing this on your own printer paper. This is so much sturdier. Then what you can also do, you can do this with tissue patterns as well, but once you have your piece perfected and you know, this is my perfect t-shirt, this is my size, this I can now use to make tank tops, v-neck shirts, everything else, you can transfer this to something sturdier like cardstock, or just larger sort of butcher paper so that you have one piece. But in the initial makings of your pattern, this is so much sturdier than a tissue pattern. Also, if something happens to it, if you lose it, if you tear it, if you gain or lose a little weight and you need to create it again, you always have that file on your computer and you can reprint it. Simple as that. So another thing I love about digital patterns is the instant gratification of it. So I find this perfect tee and I want it. I don't have to wait and go to the store and look up the pattern and buy it and find a coupon, whatever, all these things. I can buy it, I can print it out, I can start taping it together and make it that afternoon. So I think there are a lot of bonuses to working with digital patterns. If it is your first time, again, please join us for the webcast because we will be talking to So English about how to work with digital patterns. I think once you do it once, you'll understand how the pieces go together, and you'll start wanting to use them more and more often. All right. And yes, the multi-sizes are great. This is a good tip as well. Cutting your favorite patterns out of cutaway stabilizer. The great thing about that too is if you're going to add embellishments to your t-shirt and you want to kind of use your pattern as a template, if you will, when you're hooping your fabric, that type of thing, that cutaway stabilizer, you can see through it. So for example, for this project, after our pocket embroidery is completed on the fabric, you can then use your cutaway stabilizer pocket template to center your embroidery and cut it out perfectly, because you can kind of see through it and you can see, you know, if your design is perfectly lined up along that pocket. So it's pretty great tip. Okay. So I think I have pretty much covered the digital pattern that we will be using in the webcast today. Again, if you grab a kit, your digital pattern is included. If you don't get the kit, grab up the digital pattern. Okay. Also, if you get the kit, your embroidery thread and designs are also included. If you don't get the kit, you'll want to grab up the ModGeo machine embroidery palette, which comes with the designs and these 6 spools of thread. Or if you want to do the hand embroidery, again, grab up that hand embroidery collection and you will have these great designs that you can print onto your stabilizer. So before I go into embroidery tips, I want to go over just some general tips for sewing with knits. These are going to come in very handy when you're working on your t-shirt. And we will go over some of these in the webcast today. And So English has a lot of great tips for using a serger for your shirt. They'll tell you exactly what stitch to use and that type of thing as well. But what I wanted to mention is stabilizing your seams. So if you don't have a serger and you're going to be using your trusty standard sewing machine to sew knits, what I have found to be the best thing ever is Sulky Sticky Fabra Solvy. Sticky Fabra Solvy is actually the same product as Sulky Stick and Stitch. So if you are using a hand embroidery kit, you will get a pack of stick and stitch because that's what we're using for the hand embroidery. And lucky you, you will have some left over that you can use to stabilize your seams when you're sewing. It's also great for hemming your sleeves and hemming the garment itself. If you didn't get the handwork kit, you may want to grab either sheets of stick and stitch or a roll of Sticky Fabra Solvy. Now, Sticky Fabra Solvy works with even heavier weight knits. It even works on like fleece. If you've ever made a pair of fleece pajama pants and tried to hem them and gotten a little bit of stretch along the hem, try using a strip of Sticky Fabra Solvy, fold your hem, sew it, and then when you throw the garment into the washing machine, the Sticky Fabra Solvy completely dissolves and you have the most perfect looking hem you've ever seen. Same thing applies here, but we're also going to put it along our garment seams, and that is going to prevent any stretching, rippling, waving while we're sewing. So along with the Sticky Fabra Solvy, be sure to grab up some jersey needles. Now, if you get a kit, you will get a pack of jersey needles. If you get a machine embroidery kit, you will get a pack of embroidery needles as well. If you get the hand embroidery kit, you will get a pack of handwork needles. Like I said, you will get everything you need to create the t-shirt you want to create. So for construction, we will be using the jersey needle. The jersey needle has a ball point to it. So instead of piercing the fabric, it's going to actually push the jersey fabric or the knit fabric fibers aside to create that stitch, making room for the thread. If you are using a needle that is pointed, it could cause a hole or snag when you are sewing with knit fabrics. You want that ball point to sort of push the fabrics or the fibers, apart to create the stitch rather than trying to create a hole for that thread. Okay, people are asking about projector specific files. This is relatively new technology, I would say, maybe over the past 4 or 5 years. Some digital patterns do come with projector files, so you can project your pattern pieces onto a screen or wall and then kind of trace them onto larger pieces of paper. I just want to emphasize that this is not a sulky pattern. It's a so-so English pattern. So that will be a great question to bring to the table for the webcast today. You will not get projector files with your pattern files. What you get with the digital pattern is an 8.5 by 11 formatted pattern for your home printer. You'll also get an A4 file for larger pieces of paper. And then you will get another file if you want to take your pattern on a thumb drive to a copy shop or plotter. You can use that file for that. So again, another reason to read those instructions, at least the first 5 or 6 pages, before you print out your pattern so that you know which version to print for the type of pattern you're going to either tape together or cut out. So very, very good thing to consider. Okay. All right, so back to the Fabrisoldi. Let's see. So here is a great image of that sticky Fabrisoldi cut into strips. So what you can do is just use your rotary cutter and ruler and cut out strips that are either the width of your seam allowance or slightly smaller. Apply that to the fabric edge. So let's see. There we go. You can see the sticky Fabrisoldi is kind of a compressed fiber looking material, and it has a sticky side that's covered with a paper backing. You'll remove the paper backing and then apply it along your seams. Now, this piece of fabric is actually, this is a larger rectangular pattern piece that we used for our DIY lounge wrap project. You may have been part of our DIY lounge wrap, and if you haven't, you might want to sign up for that one today too. This is an on-demand course offering at sewingonline.sulky.com. And, oh, am I not live anymore? What's happening? Okay, give me a thumbs up if, okay, I think we're still live. Sorry about that. So this is a rectangular pattern piece. Now, when you cut out your t-shirt, obviously you will have your front, your back, and your sleeves. So you will apply your strip along the outer seams of your sleeve and along your side seams of your front and back pattern pieces. So here it is kind of closer up. You can put this on the right or the wrong side of your fabric along the seam lines because it's going to completely wash away once you have sewn it, or once you have, washed it rather. So again, be sure to use that jersey needle when you are sewing. And you will want to choose your stretch stitch on your sewing machine. All right. And you can see here, what I'm showing you is a waffle knit fabric. So it's set for a stretch medium weight. Now for this MVC fabric, I tested both stitches for a lightweight stretch stitch and a medium weight fabric, and they both worked great. So make sure you're using that stretch stitch if you're not using a serger for construction. That way your stitch is going to stretch along with the stretch of your fabric. If you use a straight stitch, you'll never get into the garment because your neckline is not going to stretch to accommodate your head going through it. All right, so here you can see that stretch stitch. This is actually the hem of this garment. So you can see it's just folded to the wrong side and pinned, and then stitched with that stretch stitch. And then that wrong side there, you can see has the sticky Fabrisolve attached. Or actually, sorry, I guess that's on the right side of the fabric. So catching a little bit of it, you can catch a lot more of it if you want. It will stabilize your garment throughout the entire construction process. And then once again, like I said, throw it in the wash and agitate it a little bit, and all of that is going to dissolve. All right, so I'm going to move forward with embroidery tips for knits. Before I do so, let me make sure. Karen says, can I use a serger to avoid all of this? Yes. If you're using a serger, you don't need to use the strips of sticky Fabrisolve because you're those layers, both of those knit layers, through at such a high rate, and it's finishing off those edges as well as creating your seam. I would do a 3-thread overlock for most of the construction. You could also do a 4-thread overlock, especially around your shoulder or, the side seam. The great thing about this shirt, let me just tell you, you do not have to inset this sleeve. The sleeve seam is sewn when you sew up the side seam. So you're constructing it, you construct it flat. Your sleeve will be inserted up here, flat. Then you fold your garment right sides together and sew that whole sleeve and side seam as one. It's so great. So much easier than trying to ease in an entire sleeve into that circular area. And you inevitably can't get in there properly, and you have a little bit of stretch inside of your armhole. All of that is eliminated with the construction of this particular shirt. All right. So, sticky Fabrisolve. Now, with this waffle knit fabric that I'm showing you in these images, that is a fabric that couldn't be hooped. Meg Healy took these photos, and like I said, I pulled them from our DIY lounge wrap sewing session. So if you're interested in more techniques for different types of knits, that DIY lounge wrap sewing session is a must. Plus, you'll learn how to make another great garment. For today's shirt, since we are embroidering on this pocket, we have a lot more options for stabilizing and basically more room for error. So we're going to cut this pocket after the embroidery is complete. But something to note, this pocket is cut on the fold. The upper edge is the fold. So you need to make sure when you're doing the embroidery that you give yourself enough fabric on top of where the embroidery sits so that you can fold it in half and cut that pocket on the fold. So again, we'll be talking about that later this afternoon during the webcast. However, putting embroidery on the pocket is super smart, especially for a beginner. But if you want to put embroidery somewhere else on your garment, since we're only going to be talking about the pocket later this afternoon, I thought I would go over some tips for, let's say you want to add embroidery to your hem, or let's say you're embroidering a ready-made t-shirt or making a t-shirt quilt. So sticky Fabri-Solvi can be used for hoopless embroidery on knits, but I also recommend that you have an additional stabilizer that stays with the fabric over time. So if you cannot hoop your knit fabric, if it's going to cause undue stretching around the hoop ring, or if it's a heavier weight knit and it's going to cause hoop burn, you'll want to use the sticky Fabri-Solvi in the hoop with the sticky side up. Then put some Soft and Sheer Extra, which is a fusible cutaway permanent stabilizer, onto the fabric itself. Fuse that just where the embroidery is going to go, then put your fabric onto that sticky stabilizer. That way, when the sticky stabilizer rinses away, you will still have that Soft and Sheer Extra attached to your fabric permanently. So throughout multiple washings and wearings, that fabric is going to be stable around your embroidery design. Okay. So here's what that waffle knit looks like when you've done hoopless embroidery, meaning that is just secured to the stabilizer in the hoop. It is not hooped itself. Okay? And then here is that embroidery in progress. I love using Poly Deco for embroidery on garments. Poly Deco is washable, color fast, bleachable, all those great things, excuse me, that you really want in your garment so that your embellishment lasts a long time and looks beautiful, basically forever. All right, and here is that completed embroidery. This is one of the embroideries from our floral foraging embroidery collection, and Meg added a little monogram to the center of that floral wreath. So really, really beautiful end result. And you can see absolutely no puckering around that design on the knit. And then that sticky Fabri-Solvi is going to wash away just the same as it would wash away along your hems and your seams. So here is that finished look, just so you can see kind of the thread popping out of those little waffles. And I think it's a really, really great look for that type of fabric. Now for this MVC fabric, I found actually needed 2 layers of stabilizer. So tune in at 2 o'clock. I'll give you the whole tutorial for the pocket embroidery, and you'll learn how to do it by hand and how to do it by machine and make sure that it's perfect every single time. All right, so if you're doing a ready-made t-shirt, a lot of people like to add embroidery to these plain t-shirts that you can get. So here I have a plain t-shirt. How am I going to get this in the hoop so that the arm mechanism can access the front of my shirt without stitching through the back of it? Well, basically, you're going to do what you did here with the sticky Fabri-Solvi, but like I said, the additional Soft and Sheer Extra fusible stabilizer is really necessary. You can also use Soft and Sheer in the hoop and spray it with a little bit of KK2000, our temporary spray adhesive, and then you're making that Soft and Sheer sticky so that you can adhere your t-shirt to it without having to wash away anything, and that Soft and Sheer will then stay with your shirt over time. You may find, though, if you're using a particularly lightweight t-shirt, this one is pretty lightweight, you'll need 2 layers of stabilizer. So what you can do is put your Soft and Sheer in the hoop, spray it with the KK, place your t-shirt, put it on the hoop, and then float another piece of Soft and Sheer underneath the hoop before you start the embroidery. And that's going to give it something else to grab onto during the stitch out. And then you will cut away the excess stabilizer in layers. So cut away the first layer, then unhoop your project and cut away the second layer. All right, getting as close to that design stitch as you can without actually cutting through it. So what we're going to do is actually turn our shirt wrong side out. Well, first you want to decide where you want the design and kind of mark the center of that design with your little cross marks. Use a removable marking pen of some kind, or you can also use strips of sticky Fabri-Solvy. I use that a lot of the times when I'm doing embroidery and I want to mark something and I want the mark to completely go away, but I want to really be able to see it during the stitch out. I will use the little strips of that as little markers for placing my embroidery perfectly. So once you have determined where you want your embroidery and you've marked those center cross marks, you'll turn your shirt wrong side out. Hoop your sticky stabilizer and then place your shirt onto that sticky stabilizer, centering your little cross marks, making sure there's no stretching or pulling of the shirt when you place it on to that sticky stabilizer. So it's wrong side out here. So then you're going to kind of move the rest of the t-shirt away so that the front of it that is stuck to the hoop is nice and flat, and the rest of it you're kind of holding on to. Now, a lot of people say use clips. You can clip the extra t-shirt to the outer part of the hoop, things like that. I don't like to use any kind of clips or pins when I'm working with knit fabric, especially a t-shirt, because inevitably I'm going to clip it. It's going to cause the slightest little stretch along that clip. And then when I go to remove it from the hoop, boom, it wants to go back where it was at the, originally, and I get a pucker. So I just stay away from that, and I kind of hold it away from the needle while it is sewing, making sure to keep my hands well away from anything. You may have to start and stop your design depending on how large it is and how it's moving across that t-shirt. So if you notice that it's going to move to a spot, keep your eye on your machine screen, where your needle's going. Always, always stay with it when you're doing a t-shirt so that you can stop your machine quickly, kind of manipulate your fabric as needed to make sure it's still out of the way of the stitching, and then continue the design. So that's how I would do a ready-made t-shirt, but it is so much easier to embroider a shirt before you've ever constructed it. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. Let's see. Babysit it. Exactly, Loretta. All right. So for designs you're choosing for your knit fabric, like I said, we're releasing this embroidery collection today. And you will notice that this design has only very little areas of heavy or heavier stitch fills. These little triangles have a little bit of satin stitching to them, but they do not have a very dense underlay. They have basically, I want to say like 5 or 6 straight stitches as underlay underneath that satin stitching. That's very important when you are embroidering knits. You do not want to choose something that has so much underlay or so many satin stitches that it actually, how we talked about that ballpoint needle moving the fibers away to create a stitch? Well, if you have moved it away so much and are stitching multiple times close to that area, you might actually get a hole in your knit fabric. So you want to be sure to choose a very open design, not a lot of stitch fill, not a lot of underlay stitching. if you're doing a monogram or something like that, you may need to take that into software and remove some of the underlay and then do a test and make sure that your fabric is going to support all those stitches. Because sure, you can use extra stabilizer to support all of that, but you don't want to create something that's bulletproof. The reason we like to wear knits is because they are so stretchy and movable and comfortable. And once we've added this huge design with satin stitches, now all of a sudden we have this bulletproof part of our garment that no longer moves with our body. So keep that in mind when you're choosing designs. Low stitch count, really pretty straight stitch designs. Even a red work design and a heavier weight thread can look really pretty on a knit. Another reason to use that sticky Fabri-Solvi too is to add thread count to your fabric so that the thread has something to grab onto while it's embroidering. Then when you wash it away, you don't have all those holes or stretched out fibers in your knit fabrics. Okay. All right, great tip, thank you. Just making sure I'm trying to keep up with the comments here. Okay, so very quickly before we say goodbye today and head on over to our webcast platform, I wanted to address the t-shirt quilt question, because whenever I'm talking about t-shirts or embroidering on t-shirts, I always get the question, how do I make a t-shirt quilt? Or how do I sew together all of these t-shirts? That type of thing. T-shirt quilts are great for graduation gifts, great for any type of gifts. You know, my husband used to go to a lot of concerts and has a lot of concert tees that have holes in them. They're well loved, okay? And, you know, he doesn't want to part with them. So even a shirt that has a hole in it, you can use for a t-shirt quilt. For t-shirts, always cut off those side seams. And even if your t-shirt quilt is just going to frame the shirt motif, always cut off the side seams and start with a larger piece of fabric or shirt before you cut it down to size. Start off with the largest portion you can of that shirt, and then add that soft and sheer extra stabilizer. You can also use tender touch stabilizer. If you have a really holey shirt or a shirt that is almost see-through, it's been washed so many times, use the soft and sheer extra. If you have a more stable t-shirt, like my kids have a lot of camp t-shirts that I've been holding on to for that, you know, day where they actually leave home, and I can make them a t-shirt quilt out of those. Those camp t-shirts, you know, they have a heavier hand to them. So for those, you can use the tender touch, but you want to make sure to stabilize the t-shirts, all using that same stabilizer. Then cut them to size and then sew them together. You can add borders if you wish, but always stabilize them. Another thing I like to do is serge the edges, and that just really makes sure they're not going to fray along those seams. You know, a lot of these t-shirts, like I said, are well loved and they're already coming apart. So the more stabilization and sort of seam finishes you can add, the better. If you don't have a serger, use an overlock stitch on your sewing machine or a zigzag, just to make sure all of those edges are nice and stable for you to sew them together. Let's see, what other t-shirt quilt tips do I have? And please put yours in the comments if you've made a t-shirt quilt and you have a product that's going to make your life easier. All right. So I think I've covered everything. I'm sorry that we are losing some of the feed today. I'm not really sure what's happening because it looks great on my end, but I will investigate that. So thank you for sticking around and letting me know that that is happening. Lucinda wants to know, will this be available? Okay, keeps losing the signal. Yes, you can watch it again once I say goodbye. it will cycle through on Facebook and YouTube, and you'll be able to watch it in its entirety. All right. So again, please join us at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in just about an hour for the Sulky Perfect Tee. It'll be really great to hear from the gals at So English and hear all about the process of this t-shirt. You know, these white and navy fabrics are their best sellers. And, you know, when I look at my closet, that's pretty much what I have for t-shirts. So I was really glad we went with the white and the navy. So grab up your kit while you can. We only have them on sale until midnight tonight for $49.99, and you get everything that you're going to need, whether you do machine embroidery or hand embroidery on your version. So join us in about an hour. Go grab a snack and get ready. And I'm excited to make this t-shirt along with all of you. And I'll see you all next week, where I know I've been talking about it, but I am finally going to unveil and unbox the serger next week, I promise. So we're going to go into Sergerland, and I can't believe the restraint I have had in not opening this box, but we'll do it together next week. So join in, and again, our freebie today is our ModGeo thread assortment, which comes with 6 spools of Sulky Poly Deco thread, as well as 6 embroidery files. So you will get all of the ModGeo machine embroidery designs in the 2 colorways. All right, so you can choose your own adventure with today's shirt, and I can't wait to see what you all create. I will see you next time. Have a great day.